Alright guys, we're going to finish up some inverses. So we got 3 more examples to go. So it wants me to find the inverse of each function. So looking at this, I see ln. I have to think to myself, ln has a base. So I got to remember what that base is. Turn and talk to your shoulder buddies. Tell them in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 what the base is. Alright, hopefully I heard the value of e. Okay, so I'm going to write that in. So I'm talking about my original function, then my inverse. The first thing that x does, because I go to it, it's in parentheses, x, I add a 2. Okay, when I get out of it, the ln is coming next. Then I do what? Minus 3. So when I go to the inverse, reverse order, reverse operation, I add 3. Okay, so I need a base. If I have an ln, I need a base. It has to have a base of e, and then I'm going to minus 2. So let's go write an inverse equation. First thing I start with is x. I need to do what to it first? Add 3. Okay, so here's the thing. The x plus 3 has to have a base of e. So I'm coming right here. Does that have a base of e? Yep. And then I minus a 2 because that's behind the base. It has to be in line with the base. And then I have my inverse function. The next one. This is another log. Original function inverse. So I go to my x and I start. So this is log base 3 in parentheses 2x plus 1, close that parentheses, and I add the 5 outside. So inside of it I go to the x. First thing that happens on the x, we times by 2. Then after I times by 2, I add 1. Alright, parentheses taken care of. Then I come out. Which one's going to come first, a log of 3 or the add 5? Wait a minute, log's the same thing as an exponent, so it has to come before addition. So I go log base 3, and then I'm going to add 5. So reverse operation, if I add 5 last, I'm going to minus 5 first. If I have a log of base 3, I'm going to need a base of 3 as the inverse of that. If I add 1, I minus 1. If I times by 2, I divide by 2. So I now know my inverse operations. It's time for me to go build an equation. Start with an x. Here's the first thing it needs to do. Minus a 5. Taking care of that. So this minus 5 has to have a base of 3. So right here, right, that now has a base of 3. So here's the next thing. I minus a 1. But that minus 1 is behind the base, so it lines up with the base. So I minus a 1. And then last but not least, I need to take this whole thing and divide it all by 2. And then I have my inverse equation right there. Alright, last one. This is an exponential. So we gotta, if I have an exponential, I need to make sure I get a log out. My original, my inverse. I go to the x. First thing that happens, I minus the 6 because I have to take care of the x because this is like being up there in the parentheses, x minus 6, so I minus the 6. So here's the thing. Now I need to take care of the 5. Well, that 5 is the base, so I have a base of 5. Then I add 1. So if I'm adding 1, I subtract 1. If I have a base of 5, I'm going to have a log of base 5. And then if I add it minus a 6, I'm going to add a 6. So I'm coming over here to write my inverses. Alrighty. Start with an x. What's the thing I need to do to it? Minus a 1. So here's the thing. That whole thing has to have a log of 5. So I think parenthesis, I'm going to go log base 5. So first thing that happens, I minus a 1, I match up. Then I'm going to do a log of base 5, lines up, plus 6. Because it's behind the log, it lines up with the log. And we are finito.